This little diagram is something that we built at the back of Frontier across asset management about just what are we all about, and understanding customers, making good decisions, enabling efficient delivery, and giving good customer service. And overall, that gives you a value proposition for your customers. It's far better than anybody else's. And if we can get this right together, then I think that's really what we're about. And it's recognising that there's always tension between each of these. So what makes the most efficient capital programme might not give the best customer service or the best long-term sustainable assets. Might make it really efficient to build what we're going to build, but we built the wrong thing. That's what we're always going to wrestle with. We're always going to be wrestling with these tensions.
I think, Alan, it's worth pointing out structurally as well, in terms of over the last number of years within asset management world, we've tried to deal with all of that at the same time, which I know is one of some of the tensions that have existed within that one team. So by virtue of this, we've effectively, not polar, it's not polarised, but we've split out in terms of effective decision making into SCSP world to allow these guys and you guys to work together to make sure that once we've got effective decision making, you can focus on the efficient delivery. It can't be polar, it's not polarised, but it's a bit of focus, a bit of business focus that we've driven to within SCSP.
So what kind of matters to us is getting value for our customers. Making sustainable decisions, so the genuinely lowest full life cost, that 30-40 year window, not the short term ones that we've made before. Encouraging innovation. That's a fantastic tension, because innovation inherently comes with risk. You don't get the guarantee that you know what you're going to get, you don't even know it will work. You might end up building the thing you originally thought in the first place, but you'll try something different. But the challenge for us is getting the right balance. So across our portfolio of things, are we taking too much innovation, too many risks or too little risks? How does it feel? That's one of the conversations we'll be expecting. And I think that's where it's important not to see these as kind of discrete units. That's what the dialogue, somebody mentioned communication level. There's got to be a lot of two-way communication going all the time in these spaces about, have you thought of this, have you thought of that, you missed this. And I think that's brought out one of the real big tensions for us that we're struggling with at the moment is, 2003 we went to solutions model, joint venture, we took all of our engineering kind of skills, put them into solutions and let that kind of make all the decisions for us. Now we've decided to go to the alliancing model, which means we now want a lot more of the decision making about scope. Where does scope end and design start? Is there really an end and a start, or are they overlapping things, and there's got to be dialogue there? Because what you'd hope in a good, healthy alliance is we're able to tell each other where we think we're doing the wrong thing.
And I think in the
It's a learning environment.
In the effective decision making, when Alan puts it into that context, so if I use one of the numbers that touts around right now, so in the context of today, our mean asset value is something about 56 billion now. 80% of that is under the ground and unseen, i.e. infrastructure. So 80% of our asset value, 28 billion of it's on the wastewater infrastructure, the sewer site, is actually under the ground and pretty much unseen. And that's a challenge when it becomes to the fact around the effective decision making. We're talking about effective decisions on assets that we don't see, and when we do see it, it manifests itself by the time it's too late, whether that's flooding to customers on the wastewater side or interruptions to supply, for example, on the water side. A couple of the key areas that, in here, for example, for me, is to grow the asset intelligence capability, so the information that we use to help our decision making. And that asset intelligence on behalf of the business, and boy, do we collect data, more data than they can shake a stick at. But again, it goes back to the challenge right at the start when we went round, is that data's been requested like that. I wish, we contextualise the amount of times we spend chasing around trying to find data and write reports. It's a challenge. And I guess that tension's going to come out here. So that's one part for me, is asset intelligence, about how do we get the effective decision making when we don't necessarily have all the information. Is it the strategic modelling? Is it the RM and the SM models we've got, or do we actually need the feedback from the ground? So asset intelligence a bit for me, you've got the cost there.
That's the thing. On the same side, cost intelligence sits myself in the peacock. We've struggled for years to get decent cost information from our supply chain. Whether that's by design or whether that's because people don't understand why it's important. But if we're truly going to drive out value for money and efficiency, we need to start understanding costs at a far more granular level. We need to understand where we create inefficiency, or where we think you can find efficiency. And I think there's that thing about one of the things we went through with Scottish Water, John. Sometimes somebody else's eyes looking at your business points something out that you think, why did you never see that? But somebody's now seen it, so great, everybody wins. But I think there's a lot more we're going to have to do in terms of understanding what drives costs, and accept sometimes we can't be as efficient as we'd like to be, because the compromise is something to do with service or something to do with the longer term. But that leads into kind of another part that we're wrestling with at the moment in terms of visibility of programme. It's the favourite buzzword from my colleagues in capital investment at the moment, visibility. What we don't understand is what matters. What do you need to know, and what is in the nice to know? Is it about just saying, like, it's this type of work over this type of volume, or is it specific sites, geography, etc.? So we're really struggling with what do you need in terms of visibility. We'll obviously try our best, but sometimes that affects making effective decisions, because then you're just throwing work. And that's not necessarily in the bigger terms value for money. So we're always wrestling with that tension about, yeah, it'd be great to give you full visibility and you all just sit back for 7 years, you build it all, and hey, job's good. But in reality that's not going to happen, because the world's dynamic, the assets are dynamic, there's things that we don't know today, as Rob says, in terms of asset information or customer information even, that will change our decisions. And there's always going to be that bit of churn. But if you understand that, and we understand that, then we can all plan for it better, and deal with it.
And the challenge around here, and it's not necessarily innovation per se, but how do we get away from the backstop to all our problems is to actually go and build something. And that's it's something that I've experienced a bit more in the non-infrastructure at the minute, in terms of some of the TOTEX decisions that we're looking to make. But we are starting to build up a technical design review capability internally for sort of what we're calling novel and contagious projects at the minute. But these are just looking at, do we really want to go and build something from a carbon perspective, etc. going forward. And I guess one of the challenges we've got, we've talked about this, and internally within Scottish Water at a leadership level, what are the sort of things we're going to put in the museum that we're never going to do in the future? Somebody suggested we'll actually maintain all our assets without digging holes in the future. So there's a challenge to rise to from an infrastructure perspective, guys. I can't figure out what I do,
but that's driven by customer service and customer expectation. Is that customers don't want to go down the road at night, have to go down roadblocks, not be able to get access to their driveway, whatever it is. They don't want disruption. The expectation will continue to change. As Mark said earlier on, we spent a lot of time over the last 5 years trying to get behind what customers really want, trying to understand them, so we built this plan around that. What we do know is their expectations will change, and their expectations are driven by what they see in other sectors, other service industries. So our aspiration is no longer to be the best of the utilities, it's to be one of the best service providers. As good as your John Lewis's, your Amazons, whatever else. In fact, the best service you probably have is the one you don't even pay for, which is Google. That's the one people cite quite often now as being one of the excellent service providers, because they don't think about it, they don't transact with them. We don't transact with customers particularly, but you think it's a great service because it does what you want it to every time. It never disrupts your life. That's what we're about. You've got to get to that point where customers really value what we do, but they never suffer for what we do. So that's a real challenge in a large infrastructure business with a hell of, £500 million a year or thereabouts investment programme.
And I guess right now one of the challenges we do have is whilst today is about building for the future and onwards and upwards, we still have a programme to close out. So we're a big challenge to close out SR10 whilst also building for the future in terms of making sure all the behaviours are right. But in terms of SCSP, not only have we made those sort of transitions between delivery and decisions, Alan and I are standing here functional. We've got cost intelligence, asset intelligence respectively, but we've also effectively taken AIM, the old AIM or asset investment planning and asset strategy, merged it together and broken it back out functionally. So that within here, we're not just talking about a decision for tomorrow, we're actually starting off at a strategic end and working our way back towards the actual delivery. And we have to grow. We have to grow in that area. We're talking about decisions that impact 40 years down the line. That's
probably the last big thing that we're struggling with is the financial performance of this plan.
Is that the big one?
course. We've set what we think is a very tough business plan. We put stretching efficiency challenge in, which you guys have seen obviously in terms of the process you've been through. We think those are at the upper end of what was achievable, maybe a wee bit beyond in some places. But we've also now done a deal where it says we're given fixed prices. So we're now protecting them against the economy and whatever it might do. So as a result, we've got to find 200, 300, 400 million pounds worth of performance in this plan. And if for some of you in this room, that's 200, 300, 400 million pounds of less spend, quite possible. And given the capital programme makes up 3/8 of our total expenditure, there's a fair chance it will take a chunk of that. But we're working hard, and our guys are working hard on that just now, trying to find out where can we find those savings, whether it's TOTEX, whether it's transferring money to OPEX from CARP or vice versa, what that is. Ken's guys are working on the kind of, can we get to 20% efficiency rather than 16, what would we have to do to get there? All of that is just so that we can get that to the customer. They can trust us, they know we're doing the best we possibly can for them. We're not resting on our laurels because we know how to do 16, we're trying to do 20. We're not resting on our laurels because we think we need to spend 280 million in capital maintenance, we're finding a way to do it for 250. That's one of the big challenges the guys are working on. At the same time as trying to give you visibility, at the same time as trying to close out SR10, at the same time as trying to reform this new organisational model. So there's an awful lot going on for our guys, and you're one of many things that are going on, and I just to give that context as well, as you're forming and storming your new ventures as well, we are as well, but equally all these other business pressures kicking around. So sometimes you might think you're not getting pure focus from us, it's not because you don't care, it's probably because there's somebody else pulling our chain another way, generally the chief exec.
I guess one of the other just structural changes we've made just in response to one of your comments, Stephen, on the regulatory side. Both Alan and I now have the respective drinking water quality, our public health team, and the CEPA, or for me, the regulatory team, under our wings now going forward. So I've got, you've got all the relationships with DWQR, and I'm going to pick that up with CEPA. And that's again to try and make sure that we've got a good line of sight in terms of decisions we're making and how it impacts on them, but also how we influence the regulators as well. So we're working on long-term influence and strategies with them respectively.
So to finish off, we pride ourselves on customers at heart of what we do. So exactly as Mark said, we've put them at heart of the plans, now we're putting them at heart of the delivery. We pride ourselves on the journey we've been on as a company since 2002 to now. We've now become leading in utilities, we want to be beyond that, we want to be a leading service provider. And we also pride ourselves on good governance. So I think you can't forget that in all of this we're spending a hell of a lot of our customers' money, and there needs to be appropriate governance and assurance talk around that. And I dare say Brian might talk a wee bit more about that from the PMO point of view, but it is an important part in all of this. In all this decision making and what goes on in here, we still need a level of governance. Can't you just assume everything's
Each.
aye. So
Just give it to us.